Hey, this is Math 7, Unit 5, Lesson 2, talking today about changing temperatures, and we're going to be adding signed numbers. We're going to be adding positive and negative numbers today. And so we began first of all with a little activity that looked like this, and it said which one doesn't belong. Look at the arrows, which pair of arrows doesn't belong. And you might have come up with a different answer. It's just an activity for you to think about which one doesn't seem to fit. So maybe you said, well, this one seems to end up at a positive place over here. This one ends up at a negative place. And this one ends up back at 0. This one ends at a negative place. So it's up to you for what you want to see. Like this one has arrows going the same direction, where these guys here are going in opposite directions. So you just kind of think about what do you see happening there. All right, let's look at their activity. 2-2, warmer and colder. It says complete the table and draw a number line for each situation. All right, so for A, we start at 40 degrees. So to start at 40 degrees, what we're wanting to do is we begin with our point here at 0, and we're going to go up to 40 degrees here for our first arrow. We're going to go there to there. Now it says from here we're going to get 10 degrees warmer. So I'm going to start at the kind of the head of this one and go up additional 10, 5, 10 to this point here, and my final destination point becomes 50, so I end up being right there at 50. As an addition equation, what I have is I have 40 plus 10, which gives me my solution of 50. For B, we're going to start at 40, which again I'll go to 0, and I'll move up to 40 degrees right here, okay? And we're going to do 5 degrees colder. When I go colder, I'll start at this point here, and we're going to go down 5 degrees this way here, okay? So that's my 40, and this means I'm going backwards 5 degrees there. So my final temperature is going to be right here at this point, which is going to be 35 degrees. So I know my final temperature is going to be a positive 35, but as an addition sentence, what I'm doing is I'm doing 40 plus, and because I'm going to the left, it's plus a negative 5, which equals 35 there. Okay, that's one way of writing it. Another way of writing it could be to say this is 40 minus 5, and that also gives you a solution of 35 there. I'm writing it this way just because it does say write an addition equation, and that keeps the addition sign there, just to show you how that works out. Okay, for C says we're going to go to 40, so we start 0 and we go up to 40, no problem there. And we're going to do 30 degrees colder. So now we're going to go back this way, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and draw my arrow right there, which puts me right here at 10 degrees. So I'm at positive 10 degrees. Again, as an addition sentence, this is taking 40, and I'm adding to 40 a negative 30, because I'm going to the left 30 degrees. And that lets me end up at positive 10. If I wrote it as a subtraction statement, I'd have 40 minus 30, and that equals 10 right there. For D, we have 40 degrees to start with, so we go up to 40, and then it says 40 degrees colder, so we go all the way back here, and we end up back at 0. So our temperature is 0 degrees. So as again as a addition equation, it'd be 40 plus a negative 40, which equals 0. In other words, 40 minus 40 equals 0. And finally for E, we go 40, again up to 40, and then we're going to go 50 degrees colder. So we'll go down 40, 45, 50 to land right here at negative 10 degrees. So as an addition statement, this is 40 plus a negative 50, which equals a negative 10. So as a subtraction statement, it's 40 minus 50, which again equals negative 10 right there. So that's our solution for that one, and that's how we would draw those out there. Again, if I'm adding, I tend to go tail to head and tail to head. I connect those together. When I subtract, I put it on top and go the other direction. Let's take a look at the next table. It says complete this table and draw a number line for each situation. All right, so same idea, but now I'm starting at negative 20. So for A, we're going to start here at 0 and go down to negative 20 right there. And then we're going to go 30 degrees warmer. Warmer is going to be going to the right. So we'll start at 20 and go up 10, 20, 25, 30 to land right here at 10 degrees. So our final temperature is 10 degrees. As an addition equation, I have negative 20 plus 30 degrees, which is going to let me end up at 10 degrees right there. And again, it's a positive 10 degrees. For B, we're going to go here at B, and we're going to drop and go down 20 degrees to start with again, and we'll go 35 degrees warmer. So we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 to end up right there at 15 degrees. So my final temperature will be 15 degrees, and as an addition equation, it's negative 20 plus 35, which equals 15 degrees. I don't need a degree sign, but I could, whichever one you want to do. Okay, now number C, we're going to go down 20 degrees again to the starting point there, and 15 degrees warmer. So 5, 10, 15, and we end up right here at negative 5 degrees. An addition equation would be negative 20 plus 15, which equals negative 5. And our last one, D, again we go down negative 20 degrees, and then we go 15 degrees colder. So we're going to continue this and go 5, 10, 15, so make a second arrow and end up at negative 35 degrees. So as an addition sentence, it's negative 20 plus a negative 15, which equals a negative 35 degrees there. All right, and that's the idea for that table and how we make those arrows. So using a number line can help you see which direction you're going to be going there. As an addition equation, what we can see is that when I have a negative number and a positive number, whichever one tends to be the larger in terms of the absolute value, that tells you the sign we're going to end up with. So for example, 30, it has a greater absolute value than negative 20, so we end up with a positive answer here. Here, 35 has a greater absolute value than negative 20, so we still have a positive answer. When we get to this one though, negative 20 has a greater absolute value than 15, so we end up with a negative solution here. In this case, when you have the sum of two negative values, when the signs are the same, like this, when the signs are the same, we keep the sign the same. Okay? So keep that in mind as we kind of go through these next activities. When we go to the next one, we're going to move away from the number line and take a look at some temperatures here. It says one winter day, the temperature in Houston is 8 degrees Celsius. Find the temperatures in the other cities and explain and show your reasoning. Okay, in Orlando, it's 10 degrees warmer than it is in Houston. So we take our Houston value, which is 8, and we're going to add 10 degrees warmer, okay, to find out what the temperature will be in Orlando, and that's going to be 8 plus 10 is 18 degrees. So this is like saying our Houston value plus 10 degrees warmer, 10 warmer equals our Orlando, and that's what we're doing there. Okay, in Salt Lake City, it's 8 degrees colder than it is in Houston. So we're at 8 degrees to start with in Houston, and we're going to, colder means we're going to take away, right? We can add a negative 8, or we just subtract 8, whichever one you want to think about, and 8 minus 8 is going to be 0 degrees in Salt Lake City. In Minneapolis, it's 20 degrees colder. So we have our 8, and we're going to do 20 degrees colder, okay, or 8 minus 20, how do you want to think about that? Okay, and so the difference here between 8 and minus 20 is going to be a negative 12. Now this is a good one to maybe stop and pause at, because maybe you're thinking, well, how did you get negative 12? On a number line, it's a little easier, right? I could draw a number line. I could say here is 0, and I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and start there. And go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? And there's 12. So let's see what happens. If I went 8 this way, and then I went back 20, the idea is I'm going all the way back here to negative 12. That's the idea on a number line of what we're doing. If I want to think about it mathematically, I can then think about absolute value. Which one has the greater absolute value? That's going to be the 20. So I know my answer has to stay negative because negative 20 has a greater absolute value than 8. So what I think about is when the signs are different, this is a positive 8, a negative 8, then I find the difference, 20 minus 8, and 20 minus 8 is 12, and I keep the sign that goes to the larger absolute value. So I'm going to keep this a negative 12. Okay, so when the signs are different, I find the difference, and then I keep the sign for the one that has the greatest, bigger absolute value. In Fairbanks, it is 10 degrees colder than it is in Minneapolis. All right, so Minneapolis was negative 12. In Fairbanks, it's going to be an additional 10 degrees colder than that. So in this case, the signs are the same, so I'm going to keep the sign the same. I'm going to find the sum and keep the sign the same. So 12 and 10 is 22, so I have a negative 22 for the temperature in Fairbanks. Okay, so when the signs are the same, I find the sum and keep the sign the same. That's how I think about it over here. Whereas this one, when the signs are different, I find the difference and I always say keep the bigger sign. So when the signs are different, I find the difference. Okay? When the signs are the same, I find the sum. Write an addition equation that represents the relationship between the temperature in Houston and the temperature in Fairbanks. Okay, so Houston starts off at 8 degrees, right? And Fairbanks is going to get down to a negative 20. Well, the way we got 22, the way we got there is we said, well, this was taking the negative 20 degrees of Minneapolis and then adding that again, another negative 10 degrees colder than Minneapolis is what Fairbanks is going to be. And that's how you end up getting down to negative 22 degrees. Okay, so negative 30 plus an 8 ends up being negative 22. And that's the idea there. Okay, so that was what today's lesson was there. All right, and so we can represent some signed numbers with a number line. Okay, we can represent positive numbers with arrows that start at 0 and point to the right. So for example, here is a positive 10 because we're going there to the right, and we end up at 10. We can represent negative numbers with arrows that start at 0 and point to the left. So we go this way, and here we are at negative 4. If we want to do addition, we do tip to tail. Okay, so here's that tip to tail, right, happening right there. That's addition. Whereas in the next one here, and this representation, addition of a negative number, we end up stacking it up like this. So we have a stack there and a stack there to find out that difference one there. It's still tip to tail, but it has to go the opposite direction, so we stack it up like that. And that's really what they wanted you to do today in today's lesson. Let's take a look.